Hello, it's time for another watercolor landscape. And today's watercolor includes a structure, a building in it. But this one is fairly easy to do. There's just a couple of lines to it, and it's got some bushes, some trees in the background. It's got a pathway in there, and I've already got a little sketch here for the composition set up, which will be transferred over to the watercolor paper. But just to take a moment and describe what is happening with the composition or how the different parts are working together. Notice that there's a pathway that comes up and around. On the left and right sides of the pathway, we've got some bushes. This is a rose bush over here. And because it has darker areas here underneath the bushes, and this rose bush is mainly in shadow, so it is darker. That contrasts with the light area of the pathway, and it kind of guides our eyes in and around through here. So we've also got another large bush here. Well, it's large in the picture, right? It's large in the way that we're seeing it. In real life, that's not like a huge bush. So anyway, here we've got bushes in the front. We've got one more, a rose bush in the front. We have the pathway coming around. We've also got the roof and the house here. Notice how it forms a point that also tends to point our eyes into the picture, into this area of the picture as it's curving around. And I left this one little rose bush here a little bit lighter. I think you can see, if you look at the photograph, that there are some rose bushes, and I picked out the one right here, and I'm going to make that as the focal point of like here it is, we're traveling in, and then we're going to go and stop and smell the roses today. Okay. And I might add the pool. I didn't put it into the sketch here, but I'll see if there's room. I may add that in there too. Okay, one thing to note about this picture is that the dark areas in the background look about as dark as the dark areas in the foreground in the photograph, but I am going to change it and make that a little bit lighter in those dark areas than here. That way it gives us more of that sense of distance, the way that we would actually see it in real life. If we're going back into the distance, then it's, oh, okay, it's going to get a little bit lighter. Okay, and then I'm going to try to have some good contrast right here around the rose bush. And you'll notice that there are some pink flowers on there. And when I'm doing that, I want to make sure that I am not covering over the pink flowers. I can use a tiny bit of tape to cover over the pink flowers and then leave them all the way till the end, or I can use that white gouache method if I'm like, oh no, I can't really like leave it. It's really difficult to leave just the white and go around it. I can use a couple of dots of the white gouache, then wait for that gouache to set up and put just a touch of pink over it, which should work. I think I'm provided I can find the gouache and also open it. Found the gouache, that was easy. But provided I can actually get some out, because last time it was really difficult to get the gouache out of here. It's kind of dried up. But if I can get some out of there, then I will do that method. In fact, I'm going to check right now to make sure and see. Okay, I just double checked the gouache is viable, so therefore I'm going to try that method of putting a little dab of gouache on there for the bushes at the end to make a little white or light area for the flowers and then put a little pink over it. So let's go. Let's make our painting for today. And need to go that way. I'm like, where am I going here? Okay. First, I'm going to sketch out the composition that I am using. The house is up here near the top, right? The top of the roof. And the point of that roof goes to about the center and a little bit farther down. I tend to extend this out too far and then have to erase part of that. It's okay. Because if you look at the angle of the roof, it's a lot flatter than I usually think. Like when I think of roof, I think 45 degrees. Like, no, no, no. That's not that kind of angle. It's more like 35-degree angle. Okay. Bottom of the roof. And then if you're wondering what's going on over here, this is an overhang coming towards us. Okay, and underneath that I've got a couple of pillars coming down towards a little bit below where the sky and ground meet. So where the sky and ground are meeting here, you'll notice that there's a lot more ground in this picture, and the sky at the top is a smaller part of this. And that gives us more room to have the pathway coming up, in, and through. So this here, you don't necessarily have to draw that in really dark because I'm probably going to erase that later. But here's about where the sky is and where the ground is. My building needs to be attached firmly to the ground, so therefore I don't want it to float away. It needs to come down to the ground here. That's where the pathway is curving around. Okay, there's another rose bush here on the side. And then there's a lot of bushes over this way. I'm making it so that I'm leaving some space to go up and through. Notice where the bushes come up to. They're coming about halfway up my paper. And then this one on this side, it comes way up above the halfway point. Okay. Bush in the front. Another bush is behind that. We'll get a chance to kind of layer these bushes today too as well. Thinking about this one is curving, then this one is curving, and then this one behind it is also curving. It should give us some nice depth to the picture, because if you have things that are stacked one behind each another, then it also gives that idea of, oh, things are going back in space. Also, because this is bigger and then those trees in the back are smaller, so we also have that idea of space going on. Okay, and I don't need all of this line here. I had put it in to show what's back there, but I'll go with what I'm actually seeing happening in the picture here. So, okay, there's, and I'll get rid of my extra lines up here too. with the roof. Too much, too much. Okay, keeping the line of the roof on there, but not really dark, is a good idea because you are going to follow that line pretty much, a nice hard edge. These lines here for the bushes, I'll kind of take off parts of it because I don't really want all of those lines to show up in the end. Okay, here are a couple more things. Bush here. And the other side of the path. The rose bush that I wanted to highlight. I could put other rose bush over here. Well, maybe I might do that. Why not? Let's do that. Have that other rose bush here. And then there's a grassy area behind these rose bushes. And above that, I've got my trees in the background. Which takes up a lot of the sky space. Okay, we are just about ready to begin. I'm going to lighten up my lines here so that I can just sort of see them as a guide. I'm actually erasing across the line so that it's turning into a dotted line. Maybe that will make it, I'm hoping that will make it blend into the background a bit more and not show up when there's no hard line on anything. But then I can still see it while I'm putting things in. Oh, okay. I think that works. Okay, but I don't need to do that on the roof of the house. Ready and begin the painting. Dun, 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 dun. Let's start from back to front. We'll start with the sky, and then so I'm wetting the sky here, being careful to go right at the edge of the roof. Here where the trees are, it's not important. That's going to get covered up and be quite a bit darker anyway. Okay. Taking some of my light blue. And I'll keep, this is going to be the lightest value in the painting, so I don't need a lot of color in there. And I could go a bit over the line where I have the trees in the background so that I don't leave a white space accidentally and then have to fix it later on. Oh, okay, I'm going to try to straighten out my line here right by the edge of the house. I think maybe, I wonder if I roughed up my paper a little bit with the eraser. Try to get right on that line. That's better. Okay, yeah, because with the architecture, I want to try to keep a nice line on there, but with the bushes, I don't. So that's the difference. Where and the reason why I'm using this brush right now. And you are going to notice there are some clouds in the sky. If you would like to have some clouds in the sky, you can use a piece of tissue and blot out a few parts. But you don't have to do that. It's not super important. I will just, let's see here. I think I might, oh, the paper is already kind of drying up. My goodness. Like I can't, I just laid this down and it doesn't, it's kind of giving me a cloud here. Okay, but I'm going to try this. If I wet the paper that I'm going to dab with, and then I take another piece that's dry, let's see. I think this will do it. That could take some up. Yeah. Okay. A bit. There's a hint of a cloud there. Let's say there's a hint of a cloud. I'm going to add another hint of a cloud here. That's my, maybe try going over it with my brush a bit with some water. Okay, kind of. It's gonna be there'll be a little bit of foggy cloud, I think, that will show up there, but not much. But anyway, I don't want to make that into a big thing because that's really not the focal point. The thing that I really want to make sure that I'm thinking of is this rose bush in the end of things. Okay, so speaking of where we are going, let's move on. Okay, I'm going to move on to some darker areas. And I will start with the... Oh, you know what? No, sorry. Hold that thought. The next thing I'm going to move on into is the pathway. If I want that pool to be there, then I need to leave a space for the pool. I think there's enough room I can leave a space for that pool. But if I do want to do that, I want to make sure I'm not wetting the pool area if I'm going to wet the paper. So if you want to, you can draw where you're going to go around, and you may want to use a thinner brush to go around that area. Let me sketch something in here. I'm not actually going to do the chairs that are in the pictures and the little tables. I think I will leave those alone. And I'm simplifying the shape of what I see there for the pool so that I'm not actually doing all of that either. Okay. Wetting my paper. Oh, there's a little blue in my brush still. You don't want that to get blue. Okay, and for our color here, it is mainly a yellowish color, so I'm going to go with the yellow ochre, but I will kind of dull that out and make it not that yellow. I know it's like not yellow, not very yellow compared to a bright yellow, but I'm going to add a little touch of red and blue into it and make it just a little more dull colored for the pathway. Okay, add it on. I can go into the areas where the bushes are a little bit, just like I did here with the sky. I just want to be careful that if you've got a pool, that edge you want to keep nice and straight, but where you're going into the bushes, it it doesn't need to be so straight. And in fact, over here on this side, since there's pieces coming out and other pieces going in, I want to go in even farther. Okay, carefully around the pool. Up to the edges of where the grass is going to be. Interesting. My watercolor paper is bubbling a bit here where it's wet, and I think some of the color might spread away from there. We'll see though, that could be an interesting effect. Okay, now I am ready to mix up some of the dark color. I'm going to go with the with my olive green color here, my dark green color. And if you don't have a dark green, of course you can use your dark blue and add a bit of yellow ochre to it, and that will create about the same type of green. You can see I'm already working with my medium brush in here instead of the large brush because the dark areas are all patchy and I don't want to do a big wash over these areas, and also because this is a smaller area here. Okay. I will let this get fairly dark in the mix, but I don't have to make it I can layer it. I don't have to have it like super dark. In fact, I know I'm going to need to layer it. In the back, I will end up adding a bit more blue than in the front. In the front, maybe a little bit more red or brown. I could even do it now. I could do that now. So let me try that. I'm going to take this green and add a bit more of my dark blue to it so that I get a blue green, and it pushes it into the background. This is the trees way in the back. Now I know another thing with those trees in the back is you can't see. I'm going carefully around the house when I do this. I'm leaving a bit of a... I didn't do that piece of sky there. I keep forgetting it's there. But there's a patchy area. But I'm not going to go all the way up to the top here because I know you can't really see it in the photo, but just think of that as three-dimensional and not really flat either. So I will leave some space and then put a slightly different color going up that way. Oops, I dipped in the wrong color, and see that one has a little bit more yellowish looking instead of this has more blue. That's okay. It's fine. And I'm going to leave a couple of tree holes, they call it. Holes in the tree for where the sky is going to show through. And making my edges of these lines, for the most part, kind of piecey and patchy, because it's hitting the edges of other plants, other leaves. This bottom edge is going to be more flat because that's where the grass is way in the distance. Okay. Darker area all together. I'm trying to make sure I'm dipping in the right in the right one. and here under this part of the roof. And then in the background, yeah, okay, that's shadow. I'm going to make it green for now. There's some other bushes back there. And a piece of sky as well. Okay, I'm going to leave that for a different color. See that? That yellow? I keep dipping in the wrong place. I keep forgetting. Okay, but I'll use just the olive green here. I'm coming forward a little bit. The underside of this bush. The bottom where it hits the ground will be more flat, and then the top of the shadow is more piecey and patchy looking. The different kinds of, yeah, okay. This is the rose bush. See, if I leave this area and make it lighter, it will make it look like, oh, it's 3D. There's the shadow part, there's the top of the rose bush. And then while we're at it, since this is the right color, I'm going to use a thin line here for the edge of the grass. I don't know if you can actually see it in the shadow, but even the edge line of grass, it can make it look more three-dimensional if you just have a little tiny edge there. Yeah. Okay, and this was a separate rose bush. If you're not doing that rose bush, then, you know, this the trees in the back just come down to cover it. But since I am, then the bottom of this rose bush, this bush has pieces that come up like this, and I want to let those pieces look a bit more vertical. So when I leave a space, I want to leave more teeth. Not teeth really, but like teeth on a comb, something, but not even. Okay, the top is going to be a little bit lighter. Okay. Okay, next, I am moving forward in space, as well as forward in time, right? Okay, and then this green that I'm using, I'm going to make it a little bit more red. Red and green being opposite, it will turn more brown, but that will give us an impression of it coming more towards us in space. And I can get fairly dark on the first go around, and then I could darken it more if I need to. Okay. And then if you don't like that, you're like, nah, that doesn't look right. Maybe more of a bluish might work. In fact, yeah, okay, I think maybe this kind of brown, I'm going to go for over here and over here. These bushes, the shadow does look a little bit more blue, not as brown. Okay, so this one, the bottom of the bush, I'm delineating the bottom of this bush from the top of this one here with a shadow right at the edge, but I'm making it kind of piecey and patchy so that it looks like the leaves of the top of this bush, or here. But then this I want to come up. because the way the plant is growing, it's coming up. Darker on the bottom, then lighter on the top. Okay, so right now that looks like, a little bit weird, right? But if I go, you could say across it, if I change my brush direction. So here it was vertical, but then I'll make a couple more verticals here. But then if I go the other direction, horizontal, and I go on those lines that I already made, watch what happens. It breaks it up and it looks a lot like that plant. That it's growing vertically, but it's all these little bitty leaves all growing up. And then I'm going to take those horizontal bits up a little bit more above what I've already got here. So it's like the light is filtering in and breaking up the light and dark areas. Okay, I think I can go a little bit higher on some of these. Okay, if you can't tell, I really enjoy this particular bush. I like the way it looks, and I've done it in oil paint before, and I really enjoy it. Okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna add a bit. Well, you know what? I'm gonna leave it alone. Let it sit. Right. Do the other layers. Okay, over here. Why not? I think it because it's kind of a brownish green on here. We can add that in over here as well. Okay, it's pretty dark. I think I will probably need to add a more of a greenish layer over some of that. And then notice how it's, I want to say branches, yeah, are coming out, but then the leaves kind of drip down. They kind of hang down from the branches. But I can make it a little bit uneven. Here, let's put a little bit more here as if there's another branch. And there's some going up here under the overhang. Okay, and there's some of it is a shadow on the ground. I can, to turn it into more of a shadowy color, I'll add a bit of black to the color I had mixed. Oop, a little bit more, I think. That's not quite gray looking enough. Here we go. Yeah, that's better. And the shadow is also kind of piecey and patchy as it's on the ground, but I want to try to keep it stuck together and not cover the whole walkway either. But give it a little bit of shadow there underneath the plant. Yeah. Pieces, lots of pieces here. Okay. All right, let's go for some shadows here. And for that, I was going to do something a bit more on the blue side of things, a bit brighter. So I'm going to take the dark blue and I'm going to take yellow. Might have to brush a lot on these colors to get them to come up. My dark blue doesn't tend to want to come up as quick as the light blue does. I don't know if it's like a difference in brand. I don't remember what brand that is versus that. Okay. Or if it's just the pigment, maybe that pigment sticks down more. All right, so I have a blue green. That looks too blue to me. I think it does need a little bit of brown in there. Just a touch. It's too blue. Okay, add a touch of brown. What do I think now? Yes, I think so. Okay, so that was mainly blue, some yellow, a touch of brown, and same thing, the bottom of the bush. Now this isn't really the bottom of the bush here, right? It's more like the side of the bush, and then the bottom would be down here. So there's some light area here and some light area here. I'm actually going to start in the middle of this bush and try to keep, even though it seems like, oh, it's all pieces and whatever, I'm going to try to keep my dark area stuck together for each bush and use little brush strokes in some different directions to give the idea of it going in different directions. This can connect to here. It can come down more. This, I'm going to go over here, do a bit of zigzagging around. Okay, but I want to leave the top of that bush light. So I'm not going to the very top edge of the bush. Okay, this one, the next bush, I want, there's where the real shadow is, right? But I want to delineate it from this one, so I will start by making, just right where the line is, making this piecey patchy part going across, where it's like that's going to be the light part. This is where the next bush starts. Here's where the darkest shadow of that bush is, down on the side. And it will come up in sort of pieces, but it will, I want to try to make it all the dark areas stick together. So if I go from like here and then make a part like that, see it's stuck together, it will make sense in the end. Okay, and leave the top of that bush. Don't get all the way to the top of it. Next one. So just like I did here, I'm going to go on this line, but I'm going to make it rough. And then it shows where this one, where the top edge of this is, and where it changes to the next bush. Okay, I'm trying not to run out of color here. Trying not to go all the way to the top edge. Okay, there we go. We've got all the dark parts of our different trees and bushes in. I will go ahead and put in the dark part on this building as well. I'm going to change it up, and I know it just looks like black, right? I could use gray. I'm going to try using purple. I think it looks kind of interesting that way. So for a purple, that would be red and blue. It will be very dark. If I don't like it, I can, cover it up with some more other color too. And I don't need a whole lot of water for that. I just need to go carefully with my brush around the edges of what I'm doing so that I don't cover up the parts that will be lighter. Okay, I may go over that with another layer later, but I'm not really sure right now. It depends on how the values are working out as we are going along. Okay, this part is drooping. Try not to have that happen. Trying to make it nice and straight there. Yeah, that's better. I don't want the house to fall down, right? Okay, here we go. Next, I can add some color for the pool. The pool is a blue-green. I'll use my lighter blue with my yellow. A little bit of yellow in there. Create a nice, ooh, I'm liking this color. It's going to dry lighter, so we'll see what happens with that. Looks nice, pretty. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of color mixing in this one, huh? You could really think about the mixes of different colors. All right, then let's move on to medium. I already did, right? So here we are on some medium colors. Other areas where there's medium. Everywhere there's the bushes, I'm going to change from dark to medium to light. So we'll do medium there. Also here and here, this will be a little bit darker than this, but I'm going to still call that within the medium range. So let's do some medium value colors. And then if we add the medium values and we go, the dark isn't dark enough, which I kind of suspect will happen in here, then we can add another layer and darken that up a bit. Okay, so for that, it is a lot like this, but a little bit more orange looking. So I've got my yellow ochre, add some red to it. That's just about right, I think, but I am going to add just a touch of blue to it and not have it super bright. Some water, Probably not too much. Okay. And then moving carefully along here. I think your sky will be very dry by now, so it should be fine. Okay, this is the tricky part, keeping it right on the lines. Oh, you know what is a good thing, which I forgot, is wetting it first and then adding the color. Sorry, I did not do that. But if you do that, so I kind of just wet it halfway through and now I'm adding my color, then it should fill in really nice and not have a lot of streaks. I need to fix my roof a little. Nice, and I want it on nice and straight. Good, that will do. That will do. And I'm even going to use a little bit of that color right around the edge of the pool for a detail that I'm seeing, since I've already got the color and it seems like about the right color for that. Okay, now I can take that same color and use it for under here, but after I change it a little bit, I'm going to gray it out. So notice how it's kind of like this color, but just darker. Yeah, it's kind of like this color, but a bit darker. And for this one, it's a little bit more orangey than this one. So that means I need to add a little bit more blue back into it so that it's more similar to that one. Do you feel like you're getting a real lesson on colors, warm and cool colors? Okay, that looks quite gray, like gray brown. I think that will work. Okay, so I've got yellow ochre, red, and blue in that. Yellow ochre, red, and blue. I'm doing my pillars in this. And this area of the overhang. Yeah, I can already see that it's going to dry lighter than this, and I will need another layer on it. So we'll have to come back to that and add another layer. Otherwise it'll look a little weird, right? It's like, why is your shadow area lighter than the part that's being hit by the sun? Not quite right. Okay, medium on the bushes. Then it'll start to turn. It'll start to look like the bushes are turning. Okay, these bushes in the front here, lots of yellow going on. I will make a color that is very yellow, but it's going to be the medium color, so it'll have some blue, lots of yellow, some of the light blue. And to make it look like the bush is turning, I go above the area that's dark. You could kind of see it in the photograph. You would notice it a little bit more in real life. I'm going to start here at the bottom where it's like, oh, okay, that's weird. Like, that's not where the dark area is, but because that's not the bottom of that particular bush. But once you get above that, then you go, okay, I'm going to go everywhere that is above the dark area of the bush. I'm going to put medium, but I am still going to leave a bit of space for the light areas. So second bush above the dark area. Everywhere there's a dark area, I go above that and add some little strokes. Okay, I'm running out. I gotta make some more. Whoops, that's a lot of blue in there. Let's do more yellow. Medium, more like a medium green there. That'll do. Okay, and same thing for the back. It's really skinny up there, but I want to try to leave some space for the lighter areas. There we go. Okay, and I think I could take this medium green over to this one here and just touch a couple of these areas so it looks like you've got the sunlight hitting, not the shadow. I've got to be careful about that, not the shadow. Yeah. Okay, and then over to this bush. This one is a little bit more brown. It'll look kind of more like the bushes back here in the middle. So I will put a bit of yellow ochre into the mix so it's not quite as vibrant. And then everywhere that would be medium. So down here at the bottom, wherever I had a piece that was kind of hanging out, I know it's not going to be super light right down at the bottom, so I cover those areas down here. And then as I go up, I add those horizontal pieces again. So this is thinking about how different types of bushes or trees look, and then you may notice yourself, right? Really interesting one is a weeping willow, or pine trees with the pine needles. Some have those pine needles that hang down, or other pine needles that are kind of bushing out and up. Can be quite interesting. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to use this same color on the medium mid-ground bushes, is what I mean. I'll go into the dark area on there too. Just let it be a layer on the dark area. Yeah, and I kind of like how it looks as a layer on the dark area. So why not? I'm going to pull it down in here. That'll kind of green up some of this brown as well. Okay, and now for some light areas. We've got almost all of the areas covered, and then I'm going to check and see, what needs to get a little darker. Like I said, that was going to get too light, and I can definitely see it, right? It's like, oh, why is that part, the shadow part under the overhang, why is that lighter than the roof? Oops. It needs another layer to get darker. Okay, but anyway, let's go for some light areas. I'm going to go light areas here, that's the sky. I need to make a little bit more sky color, and the lighter area at the top of the trees here. Okay, and in case you were thinking, doesn't it need a medium? Yes, I could do that too. And if I want to do medium for those, I need to make it a bit more blue, but that's too blue because it can't be more blue than the dark area, right? So I'll adjust. Take a look here. It's too bright. Maybe some yellow ochre to dull it down. Yeah, that's better. Okay. A little more yellow ochre in there. Yep, that will do. Okay, and since that I think is going to need to get a bit darker anyway, I will take that color and extend it down, layer it onto at least parts of the trees in the back here. Okay, we are ready for the light. Light here. It's very yellow, so lots of yellow and just a hint of blue so that it's very much a yellow green. Let's try it. Yes! Ding ding, I think I've got it. Yellow, green. I can pull that over the medium to let the medium kind of darken a bit more as well, or even over the dark. It's fine. I think I'm running out very quickly. I didn't mix up very much. I'm gonna have to make some more. Okay. So plenty of yellow, a little bit of blue. Oh, that's too much blue. It's very easy to overdo the blue on that very, very bright green. Yep, it's still too much blue. I'm gonna have to make it separate. Okay, a little bit of the other color. There we go. I want it very yellowy looking, bright, vibrant. And I'm pulling it over the whole bush. It's easier, and your dark is going to have to darken a little bit more anyway, so it's fine to do that. Missed a spot. Okay. There, that spot too. Okay. Yeah, see how it looks like it's starting to turn the form there? I think we can just go a little darker in some areas in a while. Okay, over here, not as vibrant, right? Really vibrant green, not as vibrant green. So this that I had already mixed up, that can pretty much do it. I'll put a little bit of yellow ochre into that as well so that it is not so vibrant. Oh, look it, I don't have to do piecey patchy because it needs to cover all the rest of that area anyway. I can just go right over it. That almost looks too yellow, but that's okay. I can do a bit more green in another layer because it looks like the shadow could use a bit more blue, more green blue in it too there, huh? Okay, but this color here, I'm also going to use that same color for the bushes that I've got in the mid-ground here. that are on the same level as the house as far as foreground and midground and background. That fills in the tops of those, and then the top of these, but with a bit less yellow. So let's see if I touch a little bit more blue in there, tiny bit, and then check to make sure. A little bit too much on the green side compared to, I'm sorry, too much on the blue side compared to what I've got back here. So I will once again dull it out a bit with the yellow ochre. So it should be a slightly more yellow than what you've already got back here. And then pull that up over the sky. So I had gone over some of the areas of the sky, or I'm sorry, over the areas of the trees. That looks a little bit funny, huh? Just like straight edge line looking. Okay. I'll do a little something up here to break it up. But I'll also, I think I can see it looks too flat. So I will take a bit more of my darker color and try to break that up a bit. This I'm actually doing it while it's still wet, so it will blend. You don't have to do it while it's wet though. You can wait for it to dry. Okay. Yeah, that's better. It doesn't quite look like a, like 1, 2, like I put a line of frosting on top or something. It's like, no, 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 no good. Okay. Better, better. Now, notice how the top of this bush is light, the bottom of the bush is dark. The top light against dark helps that to stand out, and then the dark against light helps that to stand out. I'm still missing a couple little pieces in here. I needed a bit of, tiny bit of blue here for my sky so that doesn't poke out. And I need some grass. I didn't put the grass in. I can use that same color that I've already got for the top of those trees. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we've got all of the parts covered. Just from here, just look to see what areas still need to be darkened. And then after that, I'm going to do the roses on here. So looking, definitely that needs darkening. This needs darkening. That needs darkening. This needs darkening. That could use a little too. That needs to go more green. So I'm going to use my dark blue along with some yellow. Make a nice dark green. Go in here. And on some of these darker areas. And it's okay if you don't exactly follow the same dark areas like exactly, because if you don't, can give it more of a feeling of depth and the little pieces going around here and there. So I'm going to leave some of that brown in there, but add some of this dark green coming up. Little tiny horizontal dabs here and there. Yeah, better, better. Okay. Better, but still needs a little bit more. Little bit more down here particularly. It's not going to be quite dark enough. So that'll dry a bit lighter than it actually is showing here. You'll get more color in it once it dries, but I want to make sure I'm adding plenty of it right now so that it will do that. Good. Okay, and then more dark. I'm thinking probably about the same. The dark blue with a bit of yellow. I think that will be good. Yeah? Yeah, that will do it. Okay, so wherever I wanted really a lot darker, in the really dark shadow areas of that bush or other bushes, I go back into that dark area and add a bit more. Yeah, see, that pops it out more. Okay, so right around the bottom of the darker areas, some of those dark areas. If you're like, no, I don't need to add it on all the dark areas, but particularly where the shadow is here. That will help to round the form. And I think I can use the same thing over here to darken this a bit too. Okay, and I was saying, oh, that here, this doesn't look dark enough. It looks very purple, doesn't it? I was going to take a chance on that and see what happens. Okay, it's very purple. I don't think I really want it to be that purple. So if something is too purple, I can add some yellow, or in this case, some yellow ochre, and that will brown it up and not have it too purple. So here it goes, it's turning into a gray. Or conversely, I could just use my black, right? Oh, look it. It's almost the same thing. Well, I've been really into color mixing these days, which is why I'm doing it this way. But you could just also use your black and add a layer of gray with that. Yep, that darkens it in. I think if I add a bit more of that shadow over here underneath where the overhang is, where there's some other bushes that might help to bring this part and that part together. Yep, and we're almost there. We're almost ready for the flowers. That needs to darken. I want to make sure that this is not too wet before I do this, because otherwise it will bleed together, and if I want a hard edge, that will definitely be a problem. It won't give me a hard edge. Okay, I am going to put a little bit of a shadow into the pool here with a blue-green to give it some depth. I don't know if this really looks like a pool to you. Oh yeah, it kind of does. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's turning, right? There's the shadow, just like there's the shadow here. Shadow side going into the pool. Okay. Dry, dry, dry. You can do it. Okay, another layer over that area. The gray. Yeah, the gray will do it. Okay. Actually, since that's already quite dark, it's okay if I'm not quite exactly there. You could wet that area if you're afraid of streaks coming up on it. But if your paint is fairly wet, I don't think it will streak too much. That's better. Now it feels a little bit more like a shadow. Okay, and then just for fun, you don't need to do this if you don't want to, but I get really into the details of things, so I'm going to put a few stripes on the roof. Haha. Yeah, fun. Okay. All right, we are doing the roses. Tiny bit of gouache. Okay, because I only need a little bit, and I need my tiny brush because I don't want a big plop of rose, and just pick out a few areas here where I will put them. This is also a rose bush. I could do it here too if I want, just for fun. Okay, you may need a little dry time before you can move on. If I wanted to put some little specks of flowers here that are not green or not darker, then I could do the same type of thing as well. This type of, no, that type of bush doesn't have the red flower. This one does. This will have red flowers on it when it blooms. Okay. Dry. Moment of truth. Is it going to work? Will I have pink flowers if I do this? Okay, bit of red. Let's find out. Not too much water on my brush. It's already got quite a bit of water. So that kind of like beating up on the top of the gouache there. But I think this is going to do it. Oh, it's pink. It's pink. Okay, I will zoom in on that. You can see. Aw, let's take a walk, go smell the roses, and enjoy life. Right, that's kind of what it feels like there. Okay, so that is it. We've got it, and you can add any other little details on there that you see that you like, but this one is just chock full of details. Lots and lots to look at. Now I think that I did not make this part here quite dark enough, because notice how it tends to look too light compared to the walkway. So if I take and darken up some of that light edge here, I think that will actually be helpful to make it so that it pops forward instead of blending into the walkway. Okay, that is it. I did forget see, there's so many parts on here. Look at that. I left a little hole here for the sky, but then I didn't paint it blue. There it is. Now it's blue. Okay. Finally, the end. And I hope you enjoy this one.